Hey kids, this is Jurassic James, and today we're doing Parasaurolophus, or Parasaurolophus. That's Parasaurolophus. So again, same rules apply, older to newer models, and we're starting with the old school Marx design. This is a gift, actually, to me from the curator of Paleontology Museum, David Temple. Today's his birthday, actually, and I'm showing you a gift he bought me. The earliest Parasaur models, of course, uh, people think that if it's on two legs, it's a predator, T-Rex, Velociraptor, Allosaurus. But the Hadrosaur or duck-billed dinosaurs actually do not fall in that rule. They are herbivores that are large, late Cretaceous, and they can walk on two legs. Well, actually, they can run on two legs. They can walk on four legs. And of course, the oldest models have the two-leg high stance. It's really unfortunate because these animals walked on four legs. We have found footprints of not Parasaurolophus, but other hadrosaurs that do that, but they put them on two legs anyway. I guess it's bigger, more interesting. The one thing I have to point out this one is obviously the looking at it, the stance. Therefore, the tail should be straight out. It should be bigger. Also, this little flap of skin. I'm gonna go over it more with the bigger guy here, but in general, it's you can tell what it is, but it's not the best. We're gonna say it as we go further on. In 1988, we have the same rules apply. The make one, then repaint it, and then nerds like me buy both. This is essentially a safari parasaur. So they are bipedal. So again, I always want to assume the toy maker was saying they're in mid activity. They're running, they're feeding or something like that. But again, you see them here kind of up tall like that. Really cool animal. Now, one thing to point out, like a bison, the neural spines stick up. So there will be kind of a ridge there too. Not quite like the Dimetrodon, or definitely not like the Dimetrodon. More like acro, but even not that big. But there's kind of this shape here is defined based on that. Again, good thing to point out with hadrosaurs, they have 3 toes. Also, their hands, they have 4 digits. So they are missing essentially the first toe, which is unusual because I mentioned before that predatory dinosaurs actually lose their fingers going in. Well, these guys, who we believe are hadrosaurs in general, are descended from iguanodonts who have a thumb spike. These guys actually lose like that. So they have 3 fingers that touch the ground to walk on, and then a 4th little nub right there on the side, which may have been used to grab leaves while feeding. We don't really know. But that's one thing that's really cool, that these guys do have, you can barely tell, they do have 4 fingers. And that's really cool that they kept that correctly. Because so, well, James, why do you care so much about finger and toe numbers? Imagine you bought a Barbie doll or a G.I. Joe and it had 6 toes. You wouldn't instantly know that was wrong. So the same thing here. So I want you to picture it. 1991, I go into a Randall's. For those of you who don't, it's a grocery store. And this particular Randall's has a large toy section for the grocery store. And I find, at the time, my first Parasaurolophus model and toy. Now, I was excited. So I eventually went, kids, no money. I saved up and bought a whole herd because I wanted so many of them. But the idea is that this model is really, it hits certain points, but it's still wrong. So it has 4 toes, fingers. That's good. But they're all the same length, like a hand almost. And in truth, this one here on the outside would be shorter. It has 3 toes, which is good as well. But the stance is upright, its tail is dragging. It's really unfortunate it went that way. But again, this animal was, it fit a need for the toys in my backyard when I played Jurassic Park. In the 90s, later in the 90s. But the idea is that this guy is not the best model. Now this one, same mold, but it's lacking the skin flap. And I've read papers and arguments and seen things of whether they had it or not, but most say no. So it's one of those things where I think it's artistic license at this point to pick whether you have a skin flap or not. But I lean more, not that opinion matters in science, but I lean more towards the no skin flap. I want to have proof that it's there than not have proof and just put it there kind of thing. But again, different designs for these 2 guys. KB Toys, which is a toy store that was in a mall before a lot of them closed here in Texas at least. KB Toys, I went in one day, saw this, and their models from a company called Jasmine. Interesting models, very brightly colored. My main complaint with the toy itself was that it was very hollow. So if the toy gets any heat on them, if you're a kid playing in the backyard for a long period of time, or say you have them in a box, the plastic will warp a lot. So imagine a young Jurassic James in a store, comparing every Parasaur model to see which one fits the best, you know. But they take the whole ridge and they just kind of go 100% over. You know, this is like clearly like an Acrosaurus spine design. That's interesting. I mean, I won't say it's entirely wrong, but it's just I don't see that normally in most reconstructions, and most papers don't imply that level of ridge. There are 4 toes, again, all the same size, is why, you know, not the pinky, little side one. The feet are interesting. I like because unlike these guys who have these kind of very thick, there are a lot of muscles up here, but towards the lower leg there will be less muscles. And this guy kind of has that very narrowing. And these bones, like right here, like the foot is really, here's the heel, and then here's the toes. So this is the metatarsal, which is a part, you know, the arch of our foot is metatarsal. So dinosaurs walk on their toes, actually. So that's pretty good that actually it's very defined here. And but again, the very skinny legs seems more realistic to me. Again, tripodal stance, standing on the tail, you know, it has a very like, you know, look to it. But the crest itself, the eye should be a little higher. You know, the crest is really a prominent feature. So that's one thing these guys got right. Huge crest. This guy is kind of it's like an afterthought to the head in general. So again, you get the points across. Now, as a kid, you know, I would get these big dinosaurs, and I would get the smaller versions of them that were cheaper, and those would be the babies. And this one's pretty nice, but it's not a baby, it's a smaller model. But it's not until, I think, 2000 that Safari made an actual baby Parasaurolophus. And the really cool thing about this is that the only juvenile, or you know, youngling of the Parasaur group that's recognized right now that I'm aware of is about like a year old, and its crest is actually, it's bigger. It would be bigger than this in proportion to the adults, but also its crest is very, very small. So we do know from ontogeny studies how, you know, from baby to adulthood, many Hadrosaur or double dinosaurs, we find these herds, and they find juveniles and everything, so it compares their growth rates and parts. So the Parasaurs have bigger crests than most Hadrosaurs, and the 1-year-old or so had a crest smaller than this. So but they are believed to start growing them earlier than other Hadrosaurs or crests. So I'm going to go over that in more detail later on, the different family groups. But that's what you're seeing here, the first one. And of course, it has the obligatory baby, big eyes, small nose kind of thing. So of course, that's, for those of you who don't know, that's why babies have big foreheads and big eyes. It's because it's very cute, and it tricks you into feeding them, take care of them to a certain period. And then the terrible twos for humans. But anyway, so that was a tangent. So that's what you're seeing here. Now, Jurassic Park 93 came out. Oops, trying to escape. 93 came out. They showed Parasaurolophus in the field with the Brachiosaurs very briefly. But in The Lost World in 97, the Parasaurs are front and center when the hunters from Engine get there, and they're riding their jeeps and stuff, and they see Parasaurs running around them, which is, for me, it was just great. I was a kid. This is amazing. You can see Hadrosaurs running full speed ahead. And of course they had a toy of the Hadrosaur like this. So again, I'm annoyed that they chose a bipedal stance. They could rear up like this. The parts were there, but again, these animals would have walked on all 4 more commonly. And of course, I can't judge the movie that much, but they were running the movie until they captured one. And they had the little action that like that. But they are the first model that I'm aware of that has the right 4 fingers, but the little pinky on the you know, the 5th toe on the hand it's got the sides pretty good. The crest is really dominant, and that's one thing that the Jurassic World did in Jurassic Park, and they specified sexual dimorphism because in that part of the movie series, the dinosaurs were breeding, so they actually drew art for male and female Parasaurs, and the males are just like more colorful. There is a sense of sexual dimorphism found. There's Parasaurolophus is the genus, and there's about 3 species that are recognized right now. And one of the species has a crest that kind of tucks in more. So it's been argued and debated if that was not a juvenile, it may have been a female of the species. So the males have bigger crests like pteranodons, and the females have smaller crests. And the idea behind that is the crest itself is hollow. So people always ask me, you know, that's a big question I get a lot of, is what do dinosaurs sound like? And the answer is, we don't know officially. There's no official answer. In like the 80s and 70s, they would make models of this and blow air into it, and that would honk. But again, that doesn't account for soft tissue variations in the skull. Also, want to point out that the hadrosaurs with crests like this are the only dinosaurs we have an idea of sound as of right now that I'm aware of. By comparison, you'll see his cousins. There's the name Parasaurolophus means besides or Saurolophus because there was another hadrosaur that had the same body type for the most part, had a very small crest, missing this much of it. So they were like, yeah, like that guy, but other guy. But actually, it's more closely related to the Corythosaurus and Hypacrosaurus and Lambeosaurus. So these guys all have hollow crests, and Parasaur has one of the biggest of the group. So the idea is that if some of them were contemporaries or in the same conditions, they make different noises for different species. So that's one of the big deals with the hadrosaurs and their crests. So as far as dinosaurs sound, this is the closest thing we have. Their head crests that are hollowed out. Dr. Bacchus is the best. It looks like a trombone. It's a trombone kind of thing. But in other news, they also made a baby parasaur in the movie, and of course the same with the adult. But the crest was smaller on a toy, but it should be even smaller than that. We now know. I never fault movies for being wrong if they're a long time ago. Like if they don't know what we know now, I don't get mad at them for that. It's when new movies come out, when new would be the current science, and they're still wrong. That's when I get angry. So, going back on the cheaper side, we have these guys here from 2000, I believe. No year. So these guys you can find at dollar stores, I think at Walmart. Generic parasaur design, long toes, not the hoof-like toes. When hadrosaurs like this were first discovered, they were thought to have webbed feet because they were found they thought they were living in water swamps. That's why Ducky, long before time, it was a water. She's eating soft plants and everything. It turns out it wasn't webs; it was just a pad. It's like an elephant. Their feet sat on a big pad. You say, how do I know that? Good question. We find footprints of hadrosaurs with the big pad, so we know for sure this is going on there. The hands again have 4 toes. That's one thing I want to give credit for Parasaur. Everyone's like 4 toes on the hand. Sorry, 4 fingers on the hand. They're all good on that. The problem is they just don't make the pinky small enough. And again, they're not making it walk on them. That's the big deal. The skull on this one's very weird shape. It's like it kind of comes in like a duck. And I mean, the term duckbill, actually, Dr. Bacher himself does not like the term duckbill because only a few hadrosaurs have duck-like bills. There's 2 branches. There's the hadrosaurs who have like the crestless ones that are not as popular. And then there's the Lambeosaurians that have like the crest, like I showed you earlier. And the Lambeosaurians have very narrow jaws. So they're eating different plants, basically. And yes, they are plant eaters. Good point. So where you and I have our teeth like right here, 2 rows on top and bottom, they essentially have sort of tooth battery where they have teeth here and more teeth here and here and here, and it grinds their plants like that over time, making them really efficient chewers. Because chewing is a luxury in the fossil record until mammals got there. Early dinosaurs and other reptiles really didn't chew as well until we see these guys coming on later on. But anyway, back on our march of time. Papo, once again, has this line of dinosaurs that kind of mimic the Jurassic Park style as far as overall look appearance. So again, the animal is on hind legs, it's rearing up, again, maybe action pose. The hands are correct. They have the 4 digits and the little pinky on the side. The tail, I mean, I guess they make them curve this way for both balance of the figure, but also it makes you produce size when they're packing them. But the crest kind of arches in like that. The beak is amazing on this Papo. I'm really proud of that beak. That's accurate right there. That's really cool. And of course, 3 toes and a foot. Skin texture, we actually found some Parasaurolophus skin texture, little pebbly pattern. This doesn't really show that, but again, it's, from far away, it's decent enough. It's not until we get to the safari model from what year is this? It's like a wine. What year is this, Let's see, there's no year there. Oh, no, sorry, it's not safari, it's Baton. Again, the Target brand, Battan. I'm saying it wrong, Batat. But this is the first one. And again, there are other Parasaur models out there that Schley and Safari made that were on 4 legs. I just don't have them. But this guy was the first one I bought that was like truly its actual form. This is, when you think Parasaurolophus, minus the neck, the skin here, think this body plan. It's walking on all 4. Its metatarsals are in the air. That's the 3 toes on the ground, little one on the side. That's what we're looking for here. The crest is pretty big, but again, there's different species, so the species have different size crests. But overall, the body plan is great. This is a great example. This one at Target is a great example. I highly endorse it. Then I went to Dinosaur Valley State Park, and they have a gift shop. And in the gift shop, there was this model for sale. And I was like, a dinosaur model, I need that. So I bought it. And it turns out, I was like, this is a pretty cool, you know, it hits the main beats, 3 toes. The tail's smaller than it should be. But again, packaging size. The problem was, it has 5 fingers and 5 toes. And I know it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. Because it has 5 fingers and 5 toes. And I just like, hey, you know, I always joke and say, actually, I'm not joking anymore. Like, I'm a cheap consultant. If you want to, like, call me to make toys, I can tell you, Hadrosaurs have 4 toes. I guess it's a thing. I also like the way that the paint is kind of sloppily done. So you see red in the mouth. And it's like blood running down his chin. Because, you know, bloodthirsty Hadrosaurs. But anyway, beside the point, that was annoying. And then Jurassic World, I saw at the toy fair like 2 years ago that Jurassic World was coming out with a Parasaur. And I was like, oh my goodness. Another Parasaur. And then I went to the store, to a Walmart, and I bought this. And I was like, oh, the tail can kind of wag, and the head does this, and and the toes are kind of long. But then I saw the hand, and I saw a little pinky on the side. I'm like, yes. But then I saw on the inside a first toe, and I was like, no, we've gone backwards. So here's the big picture: is that we're looking at this, and they're getting better in their form, but then they're adding parts. It's like, no. Yeah, so again, that's why I say that the one from Target is the best in this collection. Papo's a close second, only because I prefer them walking on all 4 like they would in their natural state. Again, preferences for the person. But that's Parasaurolophus' body, plan, and type. So, again, I mentioned family lineage. I have to reach down here and find these guys. I had to pull them out earlier. And again, Lambeosaurin is the name of the group. And this guy, I call him Middenhead, because the hand, I call it kind of midden over the head. You can see the way the crest works. They're all hollow crest animals, okay? As far as ecology goes, Parasaurolophus, during the Campanian, which is a stage of late Cretaceous period, that the ocean, the inland sea, the Dune Sea, western interior seaway, split North America in half. On this side was Appalachia, and on this side was Laramide. And these guys are found on that coast, from New Mexico to Alberta, Canada. So, Parasaurs, let's just use this guy for the example, share this environment with, I believe, Corythosaurus. It also shares this environment, if I reach down here, down past a point, further down, with Cryptosaurus right here, which is I've only seen one model of this animal, ever, and here it is. Styracosaurus, who is a fan favorite of Ceratopsian, and of course the predatory dinosaur Gorgosaurus. This came out just this year. I'm super excited. So Gorgosaurus, also fan and known from the Predator from Walking with Dinosaurs. Not the documentary from BBC, the actual like movie they're talking. So that's what you're seeing here. And one more animal found in the same locality, a guy named Euplocephalus, or a whale-armored head. So these have been found in the same strata. And you say, what's the big deal? Well, if you are a dinosaur enthusiast or a collector, it's easy to not know all the names and get all the families and everything. But the best way I've done it was by organizing them by species and by time period, and also by ecology. So when you say that Parasaurolophus and T-Rex and Deinonychus all lived in the Cretaceous period, that's true, but they're also separated by like where they were in time. So T-Rex lived 68 million years ago, and Parasaurolophus is like 72 million years ago, and Deinonychus like 110 million years ago. So they never saw each other. And then you look at Spinosaurus in Africa, and Australia's Minmi, and they're all separated by space too, and time. So what you're seeing here is the ecology, this paleoecology, where they're all living in the exact same spots, same environment, they're all fossilized in the same area. And that's really important, because when you find enough of these little ecologies in the fossil record, you can map out changes in evolutionary trends. So a lot of times you'll see these papers and documentaries where saying all these, we know they changed this way, like how do you know? They're doing this nitpicking work to figure that out, actually. So it's really kind of cool. But anyway, so that's Parasaurolophus. Again, this is my favorite hadrosaur. It's a really cool animal. There's a lot more to say about it, but I'm going to stop right now, because I think you would rather have more videos than just a longer video on this guy.